A year ago, building an app meant two painful choices: learn to code for years, or pay developers thousands of dollars and hope your idea actually launched. Now, I can type a single sentence into AI and get a working app back in minutes. Not a fake mock-up, a real app with pages, databases, authentication, even AI features already built in. So over the last week, I tested the internet's biggest AI app builders, and honestly, some of them are terrifyingly good. One tool built a usable startup prototype faster than I could explain the idea out loud. Another completely broke the second I tried editing it. And a few made me stop and think, wait, are junior developers in trouble? Now no, AI is not replacing developers tomorrow. These tools still hallucinate features, generate broken code, and sometimes create beautiful apps that collapse the second I click anything. But even with all those flaws, the speed changes everything, because traditional software development is slow. Front-end, back-end, databases, hosting, APIs, authentication, deployment, debugging. AI is compressing all of that into a conversation. So in this video, I'm putting these tools through a real test. How fast can they go from idea to live app? Can non-coders actually use them? Which ones support mobile apps? And most importantly, which AI app builder would I genuinely trust to build something real with? Because after testing them, I realized something important. These tools are not competing for the same person at all. Some are AI-powered design tools. Some feel like automated software agencies. Some are built for developers, and others honestly still feel unfinished. So, by the end of this video, you'll know which no-code app builder is actually the best for you. Now, coming in at number 7 is probably the fastest AI app builder I tested, Lovable. And honestly, this tool confused me, because part of me thinks it's one of the most impressive products here, and another part of me thinks it's slightly held together with duct tape. The first thing Lovable absolutely nails is speed. I gave it a simple prompt for a personal finance tracker app, and in under 2 minutes, it generated a functional web app that honestly looked surprisingly polished. The layouts looked modern, the animations were clean, and the whole thing actually felt responsive and usable. It did not feel like one of those messy AI demos that only look good in screenshots. Then, I pushed it harder. I asked it to build something more complex, a social media style app with profiles, feeds, and interactive pages. And this is where the cracks started showing. Some buttons stopped working, a few sections broke completely, and certain features looked functional until you actually clicked on them. That became the overall experience with Lovable for me. The speed is honestly impressive, but the more complex the app gets, the more unstable things can become. And to be fair, I do not think this tool is really trying to replace full production development. It feels much more optimized for rapid prototyping, like getting an idea out of your head and into a usable demo as quickly as possible. And for that, it works really well, especially because the whole platform is built around conversation instead of code. You mostly describe what you want in plain English, and the AI updates the app for you. So for non-technical users, the learning curve is actually pretty approachable. But I also noticed that Lovable cares a lot more about presentation than deep back-end logic. The UI improves quickly, the underlying functionality sometimes does not. It also focuses mainly on web apps rather than real native mobile apps. So overall, I think Lovable makes the most sense for founders, creators, and small teams who care more about speed and fast iteration than building highly complex systems from day one. Now moving to Cursor and Claude Code. This is a combination I like and a lot of developers are now using together. And compared to the previous tool, this immediately felt much more technical. Because instead of trying to completely hide code, these tools are designed to work alongside it. Cursor is basically an AI-first coding environment built on top of VS Code. So if you already have some development experience, it feels familiar almost immediately. And after testing it for a while, the biggest thing I noticed was speed during actual development work. Not generate a landing page in one click speed, I mean real coding speed. Autocomplete suggestions appear almost instantly. Editing feels smooth, and over time it starts feeling less like manually writing software and more like directing it. But where Cursor became genuinely useful for me was refinement. I could highlight sections of code and ask the AI to reorganize them, simplify them, or rewrite them entirely. And importantly, I still stayed in control the whole time. I could review every change before accepting it. So instead of blindly trusting AI generations, it felt more like collaborating with an assistant. Then there is Claude Code. And honestly, this was probably the closest thing to having an AI engineer sitting inside the terminal. Instead of asking for small edits, I could give it larger tasks. Fix bugs across the project, refactor APIs, debug issues, reorganize parts of the app. And because it can understand large parts of a code base at once, it handled bigger engineering tasks much better than most AI builders I tested. Now, compared to the no-code tools earlier in the video, this setup definitely has a higher learning curve. I would not recommend it to someone building their first app with zero technical experience. But for developers, startups, or technical founders, this combination is incredibly powerful. And honestly, this was probably the strongest setup in the video when it came to iteration. Because unlike some AI builders that slowly fall apart after multiple edits, Cursor and Claude are designed around continuous refinement. You are working with real code bases the entire time. So scalability is much stronger, flexibility is much higher, and there are far fewer limitations once projects become larger. And overall, I think Cursor and Claude Code make the most sense for people building serious, long-term software products, where flexibility matters more than simplicity. But honestly, building the product is only half the challenge now. Because getting traffic, validating ideas, researching competitors, and understanding what people are actually searching for is still incredibly important. And that actually leads perfectly into today's sponsor. Quick note, this part of the video is sponsored by Semrush. Most people are trying to use AI to research keywords, competitors, even product ideas, but they're doing it completely wrong. Because it sounds smart, but most of the time, it's just guessing. For example, if I ask ChatGPT for keyword ideas or competitors, it gives me something that looks useful. But there's no real data behind it, no search volume, no keyword difficulty, so you can't actually make decisions from it. And this is actually what fixed that problem for me. They recently introduced something called the MCP server. Basically, it connects AI tools like ChatGPT directly to Semrush's real SEO data and turns AI tools into data-backed research systems instead of just text generators. So instead of AI guessing, you're getting actual search insights inside your chat. No switching tools, no extra setup, it just becomes part of your workflow. To use it inside ChatGPT, you just connect it once. Go to Apps, or from Settings, click Explore. Search for Semrush, select it, hit Connect, and that's it. Now whenever you start a chat, it's ready to use, and you can access it anytime from the plus icon. Let's try this. Show me the keywords where Adidas.com ranks in positions 4 to 10 using Semrush data. Structure it in a table with keyword, search volume, keyword difficulty, and traffic. As you can see, it gives me exactly what I asked for. This basically removes the guesswork. You're getting validated ideas you can turn into content immediately and actually rank for. I'm building an AI SaaS product. Based on Semrush data, find SEO opportunities I can target to get early traffic. Include keywords, difficulty, volume, and explain why each is a good opportunity. This is where it gets really useful. It helps you make better decisions, move faster, and focus on opportunities that actually bring traffic. And the best part is, this isn't just for ChatGPT. You can use this across other AI tools like Claude, Claude Code, Gemini, or even inside Cursor and VS Code. So it fits directly into whatever workflow you're already using. And setup is really simple. I've linked a guide in the description if you want to try it. This feature is included in all Semrush One and SEO Toolkit plans. No extra add-ons or setup required. You're basically combining SEO data and AI into one connected workflow, which just makes everything faster and way more reliable. If you're using AI for building, content, or research, this is honestly one of the easiest upgrades you can make. Check out the link in the description to try Semrush and explore the MCP feature with free access. Now coming in at number 5 is Softer. And after testing it for a while, I honestly think Softer cares less about impressing you in the first 5 minutes and more about making sure the app still works after 50 edits. Because that was one thing I kept running into with a lot of these AI builders. The first generation would look amazing. Then I would start changing things, adding features, adjusting layouts, and slowly everything would start breaking. Softer felt much more stable during that process. It is definitely not the flashiest tool here, and it is also not the fastest. But honestly, I think that is intentional. Instead of trying to instantly generate everything from one prompt, Softer asks more setup questions first. And at first, I thought that would make the experience feel slower, but after using it, I actually understood why they do it. Because once the app is generated, the structure underneath feels much more organized. The editing experience was also one of the easiest in this entire video. I could still use prompts for changes, but there was also a drag and drop editor underneath everything. So fixing layouts manually was very straightforward. And honestly, I think that matters a lot for non-technical users. Because sometimes AI gets you 80% of the way there, and you just want to adjust the remaining 20% yourself without fighting the tool. Another thing I liked was integrations. Connecting Airtable, Google Sheets, Notion, and Supabase was surprisingly smooth. And while testing it, I could immediately see this working well for things like client portals, internal dashboards, dashboards, team systems, or inventory tools. Not necessarily flashy startup apps, but practical business software. Softer also handled user permissions really well. Admins, clients, editors, and team members could all have different levels of access without much setup. And honestly, that is the kind of thing that becomes very important once real people start using the app. Now, in terms of mobile support, Softer mainly focuses on responsive web apps instead of native mobile apps. And overall, I think Softer makes the most sense for businesses and non-technical users who care more about stability, structure, and workflows than ultra-fast AI generation. Now at number 4 is Dreamflow, and Dreamflow immediately stood out because it focuses much more heavily on mobile apps instead of just generating websites. A lot of AI builders right now create responsive web pages and then basically call them mobile apps. Dreamflow actually felt designed around phones first, and honestly, after testing it, this was one of the few tools where the mobile experience felt intentional instead of adapted from desktop. The navigation, layouts, and screen structure all felt closer to real mobile apps than typical AI-generated websites. It spends more time organizing screens and flows properly instead of rushing straight into generation. And I actually think that slower approach helped the apps feel more usable afterward. For refinement, Dreamflow handled follow-up edits fairly well, especially around UI adjustments and navigation changes. I did notice that it feels a bit more structured than simpler no-code tools, so there is a small learning curve at first, but it is still much easier than working inside traditional coding environments. And the more I tested it, the more it became obvious that Dreamflow is not really trying to compete as a quick one-prompt website generator. It feels much more focused on building actual app experiences people would use on mobile devices every day. Things like navigation, authentication, onboarding flows, and app-style interactions seemed much more thought through compared to most AI builders I tested. Cross-platform support was also solid, because the platform clearly targets both mobile and web workflows together, instead of treating mobile as an afterthought. And overall, I think Dreamflow makes the most sense for founders, creators, and startups building mobile-first products rather than general web apps. At number 3, we have Replit. Replit feels less like a traditional no-code builder and more like giving AI access to an actual computer. The platform already existed long before the recent AI boom, mainly as a browser-based coding environment. But once AI features were integrated deeply into the workflow, it became something much more interesting. The biggest strength of Replit is flexibility. Unlike highly structured app builders, Replit gives you a much more open environment to build almost anything. Web apps, backend systems, APIs, automations, AI products, scripts, and full-stack applications can all exist inside the same workspace. Generation speed is very solid. You can go from prompt to deployed applications surprisingly quickly, especially for simpler products and prototypes. And because deployment is integrated directly into the platform, getting a live app online feels very smooth. For refinement, Replit performs better than most pure AI builders because you can directly edit the underlying code whenever needed. That means you are not completely dependent on prompts for every single change. The learning curve is interesting because beginners can still use the AI assistants heavily, but advanced users can go much deeper technically if they want. So it scales better across different skill levels compared to tools that only target beginners. Now at number 2 is Rocket.new, and this one felt very different from almost every other tool I tested. Because Rocket is not really focused on generating apps as fast as possible, instead, the whole workflow is built around researching and planning the idea before you even start building. And honestly, at first, I was not sure if I would like that approach. Most AI builders today are built around instant results. You type one prompt, and a few minutes later, you already have a UI on screen. Rocket slows that process down quite a bit. Before building, it has a system called Solve that researches the actual business idea first. So instead of instantly generating an app, it creates a structured report around things like competitors, positioning, opportunities, risks, and product direction. And this process can take close to an hour. At first, that honestly felt too slow compared to tools like Lovable. But after testing it, I understood what they were trying to do. Because most products do not fail because someone could not generate a landing page fast enough. They fail because the idea itself was weak from the beginning. Then there is another system called Track, which monitors competitors, pricing changes, messaging shifts, reviews, and other business signals over time. And again, this is not instant either. The platform actually recommends waiting up to a day or more for richer tracking data to build up properly. So compared to most AI builders in this video, Rocket definitely requires more patience. But the interesting part is how all of this connects together. Once the research and tracking are done, the build process already understands the earlier context. I did not have to keep re-explaining the idea every time I moved into another step. And honestly, that was probably the biggest thing that stood out to me while testing it. The platform feels less like generate me an app, and more like a system built around product development as a whole. Now, obviously, this slower workflow will not be for everyone. Some people will probably prefer the instant generation style of other AI builders. But if someone cares about research, planning, positioning, and building all inside one connected workflow, Rocket becomes much more interesting. And overall, I think Rocket makes the most sense for founders, startups, or teams trying to think more seriously about the product before rushing into development. Now, finally, at number 1 is Emergent. And honestly, this was one of the few tools where I stopped judging the output for an AI tool and just started judging it as software. The balance between speed, structure, and consistency felt stronger than most builders I tested. The apps usually needed less fixing afterward, and follow-up edits were much more reliable compared to a lot of the other tools in this video. And that matters because many AI builders look impressive at first, then slowly fall apart once projects become more complex. Emergent handled iteration much better than I expected. It also felt more focused on building complete products instead of just generating pretty front ends. Now, overall, I think Emergent makes the most sense for founders or teams trying to move beyond simple prototypes into more serious applications. Now, after testing all of these tools, I honestly do not think there is one perfect AI app builder. It really depends on what you are trying to build. Some are optimized for speed, some for stability, some for developers, and some for deeper product research before building. But the biggest thing I realized is that software is becoming dramatically more accessible. And honestly, we are probably still early. If you enjoyed this video, you'll find all the tools, links, pricing pages, and resources down below in the description. And let me know in the comments which one you would actually use. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.